Welcome back to Circle Club Entertainment for yet another Diecast review. Today, we're going to be looking at a pretty epic Ross Chastain diecast. This is his 2023 WWEX Racing Unishippers Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 number 1 for Trackhouse Racing. So this is yet another version of the WWEX car. Pretty cool when the sponsors have other versions of their paint schemes marketing different products, and this is advertising their Unishippers deliveries, which is pretty cool to have another iteration of this paint scheme. And I gotta say, this is probably my favorite one. Just that touch of red with some more white, and on top of that, the chrome that's on the outline there on the number 1. It really does look spectacular. I really am a fan of the look of this car. And a lot of Ross Chastain fans that are going to be collecting his diecasts gotta be on the lookout for some of these different versions of the paint schemes. This Unishippers one is definitely a cool one for sure. I really like the style of it, and we're looking forward to what you guys think of it in the comment section down below. But now that we looked at the box, it's time to get this diecast out of the box. Here it is, folks, brand new out of the box, and even out of the box, this diecast ceases to impress me. It is an absolute beauty of a paint scheme. And I gotta say, of all the WWEX cars, this has gotta be my favorite one that we've gotten this season. I really like the color combination. Just the white, the red, the chrome, and that special shade of light blue. And some dark blue as well. The arrows with some of the gradient finishes on here. Man, this is a really epic car. I really like this. And on top of that, you have a colored-in spoiler, which is just fantastic. Really, really cool to see a colored spoiler finally on one of these cars. I recall seeing this car in the first Martinsville race and then a Darlington playoff race is where I remember seeing this car. This car may have run other races, but those are the main ones that I remember. But without further ado, let's get this diecast review on. This is a pretty impressive paint scheme, folks. I hope you guys feel the same. Even if you don't, you're still part of the Circle Club. So you got number 1 right there. Let's see if the camera can focus in a little better. I know that headlight decal is really, really crinkled and pretty messed up there, which is kind of a shame. You got number 1, Trackhouse Racing's logo. You have Chevrolet Camaro ZL1. Then you're going to have WWEX Racing, the 2 ZL1 logos. Then you're going to have the hood vents, which cover up the hood logos, sadly. You're going to have a little globe symbol, GTZ, and the U for Unishippers. Then you have Chastain and the gold Chevrolet bow tie on there. You have Sunoco, and what's cool about this thing has the blue corners on the splitter right there, which is pretty cool. So now the teams can know where to adjust the splitter and how low it's running, which is pretty cool. You got Sunoco, Goodyear in blue on the wheel wells, but they are yellow on the wheels themselves with dark gray rims. You have the NASCAR Cup Series logo, the 75th anniversary logo for NASCAR. And you got the one looks kind of funny. It looks like a double printed decal, and it's not just on this side, it's on this side too. It looks like they pasted a number 1 on top of a number 1 that was already on there. You can kind of see it's also a bit crooked, so that makes it even more obvious that this is a double print. I'm not sure if this is exactly how this is supposed to look. I really highly doubt the real car had a double printed number 1. Guys, please let me know if you have this diecast. Does your Ross Chastain car have double printed numbers? Because if not, then mine's is a error. You have Ross Chastain's name up there. Chevrolet, Moose, and Advent Health. Siemens, Unishippers, straight across the side. Shipping Logistics Supercharged. It's a bit cut off right there, which is kind of unfortunate. That's the thing. There's so much going on with the side of this car, design-wise, that even when you put the sponsors on there, the design fills out that extra space that would have been there had they not, because you have the new number placement leaving all this open. Thankfully, the design really fills that in pretty good. On the corner panel of this car, you're going to have Advent Health and Kubota right there on the side, on the quarter panel right there with a little arrow, which I really like. That arrow, these arrows really fill in the gaps that would have been on this paint scheme, which is super helpful. It definitely helps your eyes when looking at these new number placement cars. On the back, you have Chevrolet, WWEXRacing.com, Shipping Logistics Supercharged. You have Quaker State number 1, Camaro ZL1, and once again, the blue spoiler really helps it stand out a whole lot better. Then you have the 3 decals that were on the nose of this car, the hood, the lower part of the hood, if you guys remember. You have the same little globe, GTZ, which I believe is Global Trans, which is another transport sponsorship. And then, of course, you're going to have the U for Unishippers. And I believe that globe is representing WWEX, just a generic WWEX logo. Please correct me if I'm wrong about that. Then you have Chastain on the back windshield and Unishippers on the roof. And now it's time for the paint scheme itself. So they spray painted it the light blue first. What's funny about this is that this light blue is a slightly different shade. It's a darker shade of light blue than petty blue. So it might look petty blue, but it is a bit darker. Just a slight bit. And I gotta be honest with you, the shade they chose for it makes it really look good. This is not a bad shade of light blue. I definitely approve of it. As we addressed, colored in spoiler. Just a nice, beautiful blue body-colored spoiler. Black roof rails and the black splitter on the front of this thing, as usual. As for the numbers, you have a black shadow, a chrome outline, and a red number fill-in with the iconic Trackhouse slash going through. On the top, it's a non-chrome version of it. It's more of a dark red, a darker shade of red, kind of matching the Unishippers logo, with a white outline and a black shadow behind it with a little white slash going through the number 1. Pretty nice looking numbers on this car, I gotta say. Looks like the front is going to match the one that's on the roof, and the back is also going to match the one that's on the roof. It's got the red number 1. Paint scheme-wise, starting out in the front here, if you look under the nose, there's a few more little arrows and stripes right underneath the Chevrolet bow tie right there. Just a bit of black with 3 little stripes that are nicely spaced out between, and it's kind of slanted. Sort of like a little trapezoid there. They're not like straight line stripes, if you guys know what I'm saying. And on the front corners of it, you're going to have the nice gradient patterns that are on all the WWEX racing cars for Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez even. For the Trackhouse cars in general, you're going to have the different shades of blue right there. It goes from being super, super dark, and it starts lightening up, and you can see some of the lines where it's starting to change from dark blue to a little bit of a lighter blue, eventually to sky blue down there. You can see the fade really nicely on both corners. And the most of the front here, behind the OEM details, most of the nose is going to be white, so it has like a white background to go along with it. And what I really like about it is that most of the sides, or the left, the right, the front, a bit of the back, and on the deck lid, has a nice white stripe kind of wrapping around it and leaves the light blue on the top. As you can see, the white kind of covers up the sides really nicely, then it covers up the front really nicely, and then it covers up the back bumper right here. The lower portion of the back bumper takes the shape of it beautifully, and of course the deck lid is all in white. So a couple of white spots on here that actually make it look really good. Would have probably been too much blue, so the white really complements the whole design really well. Back to the side designs of this car, and I'm going to just get a bit closer because there is a lot that goes on with these WWEX racing cars. You're going to have the arrows, and I believe they're pointing... Yeah, looks to be the same directions on both sides. Because this car is moving in a forward motion, the arrows that are towards the back, particularly the ones by the biofuel logo, and then, of course, the ones that are next to the jockey logo, those stripes are pointing forward because the car is driving forward. But you also have some pointing towards the other side as well. It's backwards. You can see those 3 stripes and these 3 stripes. These are smaller than these big ones next to the one. Going straight across the side right there. Then you're going to have some more of the really nice gradient triangular stripes right there, which go from being super light to a bit darker. Gets a bit bright, a little bit towards up here. The white kind of fades in as well, right over here by the 75th anniversary NASCAR logo. Pretty cool to see how that stripe kind of, or the stripes kind of fade out, or the white kind of fades through there. That gradient looks really good on top of the gradient that's already there. Man, so much happening on this one, guys. And those little 3 arrows, there's another little dark, really, like, thin, not, like, really, really thin, but thick enough to fit the letters. Dark blue stripe going across the middle portion of the side that has the shipping logistics supercharged. So, like, that's not just in black. It'll be white on top of blue, which looks good. These stripes over here are white. These little 2 stripe patterns are that dark blue color. This is white because it's sitting right on top of a dark blue stripe right there. Almost like a little V right there. And it nicely frames between the stripe and that little arrow. Nicely frames that jockey logo. Then on this side, you're going to have a little bit more gradients going on. Some of the white fading in, but more of that blue fading from light to dark, mainly really dark over here. Then of the rest of it, you just have that nice plain white, which looks super good towards over the hips a little bit, even though some of the hips actually have the dark blue gradient fading into light as well, where those 3 arrows are on the upper quarter panels. Looks super good, and it slants really nicely, so you can see how it has a nice shape when you look at the hips of this car. The way the blue kind of wraps on with the gradient looks super nice. But most of it is going to be just white. Like all this over here, this whole portion, mostly white. The rest, they're putting the arrows and the gradient on. Towards the back, you're going to have that white stripe with a really subtle... Is that even an outline to it? It looks like it could be an outline, but it is looking sort of to be similar to this blue, but it's just a white stripe covering the back bumper back here. And the whole upper portion is just the normal body color paint. Deck lid all white. And I believe that does it for this car. It looks the same on both sides, but man, just the way the stripes look on this car with the gradients. I'd say the main difference between this and all the others is the inclusion of all the white that's on here. That really, really does make this look good. Just the white and red, along with some of the chrome. Mainly the white and red are the new features of this paint scheme. And because the numbers are red, and they're the only thing that's red outside of the Unishippers logos, it makes it really pop and stand out. So if you're a spotter looking for this, I don't think you're going to have that much of a hard time finding Ross Chastain when he's driving this car. It does look that good. It stands out that much, the red on here. And then, of course, the white kind of nicely complementing the light blue on here. It's a really, really good design. This is exactly how I want a paint scheme to look in the next gen era. And because WWEX is super fancy with their design choices, just the gradients, the stripes, and of course the arrows that really stand out on this paint scheme, you're gonna really enjoy seeing this car on track and in your diecast collection. I'm sure you guys enjoyed seeing it in real life as well during the 2023 season at those tracks I mentioned. This thing really, really looked good at Darlington as well. I know the yellow stripes kind of messed around with the paint scheme, the yellow playoff markings, but other than that, it still looked good. And when I first saw this at Martinsville, I was like, wow, that is a good-looking car. I hope Lionel makes that. And sure enough, here it is in my hands. So without further ado, let's get the 360 view on. Kind of a longer review because these cars, the Trackhouse ones, are really, really super detail-oriented. So here's the front of the car. Here's the hood. Ugh. I'm still not a fan of the hood vents. That's not a decal area, guys. That's actually how it's supposed to be for any new viewers. They do run hood vents on stock cars now. Like I said, I'm not a fan of that. Here's the nose of the car. Here's the hood. Here's the right side. Let's get a closer look at this, because this is a really good looking car. Here's the right side of this. I feel like I can zoom in a little bit more. Yeah. This looks good. Here's the right side. Here's the back. Here's the deck lid. Here's the roof and the top profile of this car. Here's the left side, which looks to be the same as the right. Like I said, I don't believe there's any major differences, if any at all. Yeah, this is really good looking. And here's the bottom portion of the car, the underbody. And it looks like an extra bit of plastic is sticking out there, which is causing this fender to kind of push out a little, so that's a little bit unfortunate. Other than that, I'd say this is a really, really good diecast, and this thing especially looks good when it's zoomed in on, just because of all the arrows, the designs on it, and man, the chrome outline to that number 1 in that red color, it's just a spectacular looking car. So that's all I got to say about this Ross Chastain 2023 WWEX Racing Unishippers Chevrolet number 1 for Trackhouse Racing's Ross Chastain. A very, very good looking car. If you're collecting all of his cars, you're going to want to have this. If you're collecting all the WWEX cars, you're going to want to have this. If you're a NASCAR diecast collector, you're going to want to have this. Because, man, in those stop motions, this is definitely going to be a car that stands out. If you love having secondary paint schemes for drivers, this is definitely the one you want for Ross Chastain. If you had to get one of his secondary cars, or just one of his cars in general, this is not a bad one to get, folks. So thank you all for checking out this diecast review. Comment, like, and subscribe to join the Cirkule Club. Everyone is welcome. NASCAR fans, fans of other things. Please, share these videos with your family and friends so we can have some more followers here on the Cirkule Club channel. And Always remember to make sure you know what you're doing when you're putting decals on your diecasts. This diecast review has gone on way too long.